of the things that obviously as creatives we are constantly battling is the accurate perception that there are a lot of photographers, videographers, whatever out there who are just like, oh, I just put up a website, do this for fun, and then like 3 months from now, maybe you get your film, maybe you don't.
Oh gosh, right.
So that sort of stability is one of the really important factors in building trust with prospective clients.
Yep. So I think so many of us struggle, trying to charge what we're worth and what we know the thing is worth. But when you've got like a book of business, you can all of a sudden feel like, you know what, like we're not desperate for work. We have stuff. So instead of like feeling like I need to cut them a deal or whatever, I'm gonna say, this is worth this. This is what we're gonna charge. Are you interested? No, okay, like no big deal. Like I'm not gonna starve next month because I know I've got stuff coming in. So I think there's some blessings in disguise that come along with this model.
Key to success in business, I feel like, is making what you're offering easy for someone to say yes to. I'm gonna come do this for you on a regular basis. I'm gonna make it easy. I'm gonna make the budgeting part of it easy and automated. It's kind of a win all the way around. So
on this episode of the podcast, we're talking about monthly recurring revenue, subscription clients, and all the things to consider if you want to grow your video business. What is up, my friend, and welcome to another episode of this show. My name is Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas and the Grow Your Video Business show. That's where we're at right now. Man, I'm gonna tell you, not only does this area keep getting messier every episode I record here, but I just got back from vacation. And so I'm trying to get caught up today. I'm also in between assistants. My executive assistant, it's been a little bit messy lately. So not just like physically, but emotionally, mentally, all of the things, inside and out. It's been messy, but it's been good. And I can say that and be totally honest. It's been good because I have a community of friends. I have a family that loves me, a community of friends that care for me deeply. And I'm living as openly and honestly as I can and not hiding behind, or really not trying to hide behind social, because it's hilarious. I'll run into people and they're like, oh dude, looks like, I'm following you on LinkedIn and just seeing all these updates. Man, looks like everything's going great. I'm like, well, it's not all going great. There are things that are going great and there are some big challenges, but I'm here for it. So I just got back from vacation. We went camping. We rented like an RV and had it delivered to the campsite. My son and his best buddy slept in a tent and got rained on the first night. And so when we thought we were gonna have all this extra room in our camper, we did not have any extra room because we had two huge teenage boys that ended up staying with us, and the girls and cousins and all the things. Needless to say, it was an amazing break. And I'll be totally honest too, this is a vacation that I actually brought my laptop knowing that I was probably gonna have to kind of be on call as I'm in between my assistant and we have a new project manager and there is lots of things going on. I've talked to a couple of my coaching students recently, right before I left for vacation, and people are having some real life challenges when it comes to running a business and cash flow issues, and my hand is raised. And I had one of our editors reach out and ask if we could pay them in advance for a job that it's just we've already paid a deposit and we haven't even done the job yet because everything is fluid. There's no guarantees, and if the pandemic didn't teach us anything, it's like there's just no guarantees in any of this. And I want to encourage you. You might think like, Ryan, what are you talking about? How can you encourage me? It sounds like you're in the thick of things too, and I am, but I think I can see the bigger picture, and I've been doing this work for over 20 years and have experienced high highs and low lows, and it's been worth it. It's been worth it, and my heart is with you if you're in one of those low spots. And I'm just hoping and praying for bigger and better things, bigger vision for you to have, belief in yourself and in the people around you. And this obviously requires work and focused work, and it requires you to show up day after day after day, time after time after time, and you got to have a plan. And if you don't have a community of people that are behind you, rooting you on, there to stand in the gap when you really need it most, it can feel very isolating. It can feel fearful. And I don't want that for you. And my hope is that if you're in one of those spots, that you're not there for much longer. And I want to help you if I can. I host a yearly event at our studio for filmmakers. It's called the Onward Summit. This is going to be our 5th, almost annual event. We had to miss a year, and you probably know why. But we're back for our 5th year, and this might be the last Onward Summit. It's at least going to look completely different if we do it next year. But I might be taking a year off anyway, just to reassess. And you've heard me talking about 10x is easier than 2x, and this is just one of those things. I love it to pieces. I love hosting this event. It has been one of the most, I think, meaningful things that I've been a part of, and to see the connections and all of the things that are made as a result. So we're hosting it. It's October 6th through the 8th. And you might be saying, well, Ryan, if it really is that big of a deal, why are you going to hit pause or maybe even stop it? Because I haven't figured out how to make this event profitable yet. And it's not made us any money yet. So I need it to. I need it to be something that I can gladly do, open our studio up and have my staff and we make it a very nice event. There's free stuff, we provide food and just all different things. And I want to keep hosting that kind of an event, but who knows? So anyway, I'm letting you know, if the doors aren't open right now, they're very, very close to being open. And you can find out all the information about this event at studiosherpas.com/onward. If you haven't heard me yet, if you haven't really been listening, if you're just in the middle of your workout or your run or whatever, maybe you're being put to sleep by my voice right now, hear this. If you feel isolated, alone, not supported, if you feel like this work is really, really a grind and you've lost your passion and desire, you're afraid of what AI is doing to your business, or maybe you're not afraid, but you're feeling ramifications of what is happening in the world today with technology and with what we do. And I just want to say that you are very, very, very important, and the work that you do is very important. And if you don't have a community behind you, you need one. And the Onward Summit is a great place to find and meet other filmmakers from all over the country, all over the world. We've had people come and to connect, to take some time out from working in the business and spend some time working on you and receiving encouragement, receiving one thing that you can walk away doing different, starting or stopping. I promise you, if you make the effort to come to this event, you're not going to regret it. Out of all 4 events that I've hosted, I have gotten one negative response, and I think if that person did a little bit more research, they probably would have made a decision to not attend the event because it really wasn't for them. But for everybody else that at least has told me, has left me a video review, filled out our comment thing, people love this event, and I'm really excited to host it again. So go find out all the information at onwardsummit.com. Actually, go to studiosherpas.com/onward. I know that site for sure is working. Longest intro ever. I'm glad you're here for it. This is a really exciting episode, full of goodness. So I'm glad you're here. I was really inspired. I did take a lot of notes from this episode. Without any further ado, let's actually jump into this episode, but my heart's with you. I love you, and I'm glad that you're here for the journey. And here's to an amazing episode. Let's go. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to another episode of the show. Today with me is Annemie Tonken, who has been a professional photographer since 2010 and is now a respected educator focused on business systems and strategies that help creative entrepreneurs. Hint, hint, nod, nod, wink, wink, that's us. Run profitable, sustainable businesses that they love. I think she stole all of these things from me. She is the host of This Can't Be That Hard, which is a top-rated weekly podcast for photographers. She's the creator of the Simple Sales System, which is used by thousands of photographers worldwide to create in-person sales level income and service in an automated way. And she is an experienced speaker known for her fluff-free content and memorable metaphors, which I'm so looking forward to some of those today. Annemie, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. It's an honor. I'm excited to have a chat, and 99% of the time I'm talking to still photographers, so it's a fun thing to kind of expand out into the video world.
And here we are. And I think I butchered your name too, Annemie. I'm so excited
Annemie.
that you are here
I know.
Today.
It's a hard one. Yeah.
So
if I had a penny for all the times that I have had to judge somebody's pronunciation of my name, especially given that I live in the South, Annemie
you'd
is
be
pretty
rich.
common. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm super excited to kind of just unpack. I heard you on Brian's show, Six Figure Creative, months and months ago, and I just remember being like, oh, this is like this idea of monthly recurring revenue and creating opportunities. You know, I think one of the biggest challenges in my business over 20 years is having any sense of predictable income. It's a grind. It's hard. It's like nerve-wracking. I think a lot of people can't stand not knowing, where is my next paycheck coming from? And so
Sure.
That's probably an easy way or an easy reason for people to just tap out and say, I got to go back to something that's more predictable. For you, what was going on in your photography business where this idea came up, or was it sort of like you fell into it accidentally? Like what happened?
Yeah, so I think you and I both come from a background in weddings where you have, even if you don't necessarily have a lot of predictability in terms of you're still booking year to year, whatever.
Yeah.
In weddings, you typically have a fair amount of lead time.
Totally.
So I can, here we're recording right now in the middle of 2024. If I were still in the wedding world, I would hope that I had a pretty good sense already, certainly of the rest of my current year and then well into the next year, right? Yep. My business switched from, I stopped taking weddings when, I guess it was around 2014 or 15, I stopped doing weddings. My kids were getting older. Yeah. I wanted to have that, Saturday real estate. And when I had started my business, I was doing families and weddings. And honestly, it wasn't just the Saturday thing. It was also the fact that sort of pound for pound, hour for hour, I made as much or more as a family photographer.
Oh, man.
Just because, that's a big amount of money that you make for a wedding, but there's also a ton of time
right.
ahead of time, during, and then the editing afterward. And that we have lots in common about for photos and video.
Yeah.
So I pretty easily, at the point where my business was busy enough that I had to choose, I was like definitely going all in on families. The only drawback on photographing families as compared to weddings was this fact that people were hiring me more like 4 to 6 weeks in advance. So at any given time, I typically was like, I can pay my mortgage next month, but I didn't necessarily have a whole lot more forecasting ability than that. But it was one of those things for me, and I think this is true for a lot of us, where I was like, okay, but it's always been okay. It'll keep being okay.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I can't relate. Yes.
That is a fallacy. So for anyone who's listening who might be thinking that way, don't think that way. So the first kind of big hit to that came when in 2017 I got divorced, and all of a sudden it was like the whole landscape of my business kind of changed, and I was having to be a lot more like, there is no margin for error here.
Yeah.
You don't have anybody to back you up if this month is a down month.
That sounds
not at all
great.
Because you know what else is not stressful is getting divorced.
Yeah, no, I heard that's
just in general.
Although I've heard it's not recommended in most cases.
Zero stars.
Yeah.
Do not recommend.
Zero
I mean,
stars.
Recommend if you need to get out of a bad marriage. That's fine. But yeah. So don't do it just because it's going to be fun. How about that?
Yeah.
So that was sort of like hit number one. And but I was able to kind of recover and everything was fine. Fortunately, at that point, I had been in business for 7 years. I had a good client base, I had lots of regular clients. Yeah. And so I was able to manage through that hit. Then the next year, 2018, I was having some like ankle pain, just chronic ankle pain from like an old high school sports injury. And so I went and saw an orthopedic surgeon or an orthopedist, and they scanned it and they said, yeah, you've just got a bunch of cartilage damage, but we can fix that. No problem. Let's schedule surgery for a time that works for you. You need to take a couple of weeks off.
Oh gosh.
It's great. December works great for me. Yeah. Like I finished up my pre-holiday busy season stuff, kind of got all my ducks in a row. My mom came to stay with me. I go in for surgery. I wake up from surgery and they say, so good news, bad news.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man.
The good news is we were able to really fix your ankle. The bad news is the fix was a lot more complicated than we thought it was going to be. And instead of being off your feet for 2 weeks, you're going to need to take about 4 months. You're going to have to do all this physical therapy. And so you're on crutches for 4 months. And I can't do my job without the use of both of my feet. And so, fortunately for me, I had some savings. I also had the fact that because I had surgery at the very beginning of what is typically my slow season, it wasn't anticipated that this was going to be like my big money, revenue generating period of the year. Yeah. But it was still a massive, have you ever heard that term, life quake?
No, but
you can extrapolate what it means. Yeah. It just this massive, okay, you really need to have a better plan. Yeah. Or you were saying at the beginning of the show, or you need to go back and go to your pre-photography career where you had a more predictable paycheck because your kids are relying on you to buy groceries and pay the mortgage and all that sort of stuff. So that was, as you can imagine, a stressful and sort of, I don't know, I just had that sort of come to Jesus, with myself moment. And so all this time my wheels are turning, and I historically in business, and I think the reason that I really enjoy education is because I have always taken a very creative approach to the business side of business. Yeah. Ultimately, I think that that's where my true strength as a creative kind of lies. And at the time, I was going through all these different ways of how can I stabilize my income? How can I stabilize the unpredictable nature of doing, time for money type work in a creative space that's not this is not a necessary thing for people. People hiring family photographers, that's like the first item on the chopping block. If the car needs a new set of tires or the refrigerator dies, they're like, well, we won't hire a photographer. Right. So I, one day the doorbell rings and I go and answer the door and it's the UPS guy and he's delivering this box that I get every 3 months or every 2 months from the HVAC filter subscription that I'm subscribed to.
I got one of those.
Because one time my AC went out and the guy came to fix it and he was like, you would have saved yourself a lot of money if you had just replaced the filter. And then he recommended, he was like, there's subscriptions for this so you don't have to remember to go to the store. So I subscribe to this thing and it shows up every 2 months and it's not exciting or sexy or whatever, but it's a thing I need to do. Right. And having it delivered to my door means that I don't forget to do it. So it was like the doorbell rings, I open the door, and this light bulb goes off because so many of my clients have this desire, right? They have this sort of aspiration to document their families over time, da da da. And even my best clients, the ones who come back and over and over again, frequently will call me and say, oh my gosh, we need to schedule. I meant to call you 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. Time has gotten away from us, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, you can relate. You've got kids, life gets busy, whatever. So that, I was like, I could create essentially a subscription so that my clients could get this done and I would come to them and I'd say, okay, it's time to schedule your session again this year. And we could make it an easy payment process so that they don't have to sit down with the budget and be like, well, does this fit? If my services cost, let's round it out to $2,000, and I can chop that into monthly payments for somebody that they automate on their credit card, that becomes an easy yes for them. Whereas like the big one-time lump sum is not. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I've just been downloading or dumping all of this. Are you tracking with me? I mean, I feel like
no, this is, I'm taking notes because there are a couple of things that I'm like, oh, I want to keep going down this path. So please take us there. Yeah. Well,
so as soon as this occurred to me, I was like, awesome. This has to be there have to be other photographers out there doing this.
Right.
Like this makes total sense. And then I looked around and I couldn't find anybody doing it because I was like, how do I do this? How do I set it up? I mean, it seemed pretty straightforward and it is not complicated, but there are some pieces to the puzzle as I started to think about like the more specifics. I had questions. How does this work from a contractual standpoint? How do I manage recurring payments? All those sorts of things, which at the time I didn't have any experience with. So as I was trying to put it together, I was doing all this research, and that was the biggest red flag to me, was that I couldn't find anyone else out there doing it, which, it's like...
Is this a good idea?
What am I missing here? Yeah, is this a good idea? I thought this was a good idea. And so, I really couldn't find any model for it, but I decided to go for it. I ended up getting sort of my ducks in a row and launching in the late summer of 2019, ahead of my busy season. And that launch was really successful. I pitched it to my sort of client base. I made some mistakes in those early days about kind of, as you do.
Yeah.
One of the things that I would call a mistake was that I just made it available to anyone. Like I was talking about it on social media and I was inviting all kinds of people into this membership. And ultimately, I have since, in the several years since, said, nope, no more. You work with somebody first and then you invite them into your membership. Just because it's sort of like I don't know, I'm not into mail order bride situation. I feel like it's sort of like that. Like you really don't know what you're going to get if you get into this long-term relationship with somebody right off the bat. Mm-hmm. And I think that it ultimately cuts both ways too. And that was sort of what I found in that first year. But other than that, it was really successful. So I brought in about 40 clients, that first 35, I think, clients that first launch. Mm-hmm. And not that that's an entire year's worth of work for me, but it definitely represented enough to, on a monthly basis, kind of cover my mortgage, pay my, pay for groceries. And then it also gave me this sense of like, this is what my workload looks like.
Yeah,
so now as I'm marketing and as I'm accepting clients or turning clients away, that sort of thing, I'm able to make a more informed, like I know kind of what's already on my plate.
Like that, when you have like this, okay, we've got, 40 gigs committed. There's a confidence that I think so many of us struggle, trying to charge what we're worth and what we know the thing is worth. But when you've got like a book of business, there's a new confidence that you haven't really experienced before, or maybe you have little bits here and there, but you can all of a sudden feel like, you know what, like we're not desperate for work. We have stuff. So instead of like feeling like I need to cut them a deal or whatever, I'm gonna say, this is worth this. This is what we're gonna charge. Are you interested? No, okay, like no big deal. Like I'm not gonna starve next month because I know I've got stuff coming in. So I think there's some blessings in disguise that come along with this model.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though I no longer offer a spot in the membership to someone before I've worked with them, one thing that I do and one thing that I recommend is talking about the membership on my website. So when a potential client comes to my website, they do see that I have this membership.
Yeah.
And when we get on that, discovery call where we're having a conversation about whether they want to work with me, it often comes up where they'll ask, oh, I saw this thing on, what's the deal with the membership? What I love about having it on the website is that not only is it sort of a point of differentiation and this idea that like, oh, I could become part of this membership, but it the subtext there is this is someone who other people trust to come back again and again to. So when I'm having that conversation with them, I say something along the lines of, yeah, I would love to have you in the membership. That's actually not something that's available until we've had a chance to work with one another, because I want you to be sure that I'm the right photographer for you. And I'm always going to frame that in a way that's like, how does this benefit you?
Yeah. But
I say that to them and they say, oh yeah, that's great. I say, but assuming that this all works out great, which I'm sure it's going to, I would love to have you, join that. Annual enrollment is every August. I sort of tease it, and it does a couple of things. So it adds that social proof. It sort of helps underline that like this is a stable business that isn't just fly by night. Because one of the things that obviously as creatives we are constantly battling is the accurate perception that there are a lot of photographers, videographers, whatever out there who are just like, oh, I just put up a website.
Yeah.
I do this for fun. And then like 3 months from now, maybe you get your film, maybe you don't.
Oh gosh. Right.
So that sort of stability is one of the really important factors in building trust with prospective clients.
Yep.
So yeah, all of those things. I just feel like it ends up being, it's good for your own confidence. It's good to help build confidence in your prospective clients as well.
Well, I think it also, and you probably know this or feel this, there's an exclusivity to it. There's a scarcity to it. So when people start, and you're like, well, and I actually don't take everyone because like, I want to make sure that like, this is a good fit. And I feel like subconsciously like that potential client is like, well, shoot, I want to get at least approved to be able to be on the list because I want people to like me. That's like a fear or something that we all carry with us, whether or not we want to, but we do want to feel accepted. So it's like, let's do our first gig together. And then, Annemie, can you tell me, like, would I make the cut? Like, if I was interested in the membership, like, what are you looking for here? Who do I need to become? And that's like, I don't want to say, like, it's almost like it's a powerful position for you to be able to be in as a business owner, where you're interviewing your clients as much as they're interviewing you. And then you don't feel the pressure of like, if it doesn't work out, it's fine. We're getting paid for this gig. We'll get through it, even though you're the client from, wherever. But then that's it. Like we'll deliver what we need to, and then we'll move on. And you'll be better working with somebody that's a better fit, and so will we. And we don't have to see each other, every month or quarter or whatever it is.
Absolutely. And the thing is, that's really how this is supposed to go, right? I obviously I work with a lot of photographers who are doing exactly what we all do for a long time, which is struggling to, like, we know intellectually that we should be, sifting through or looking critically at our inquiries to see if not only are we the right fit for them, but are they the right fit for us?
Yeah.
But that is a really hard thing when you are in that position of scarcity.
Totally.
And I laugh all the time now these days between the membership and the fact that I also have this education business that's pretty busy, whatever. I'm really only taking 15 to 20 new clients a year. And so if the wrong person reaches out, I had an inquiry this morning from someone who wanted me to come do what she termed a mini session for her extended family that was coming into town, which is like, that's got like 100 red flags.
Right.
I'm like, thanks, I'll pass. I see when you say mini session, what you mean is I am looking for something cheap. So rather than like go down this whole garden path with trying to have a conversation with her and all this other stuff, I just, thanks so much. My summer's full. Here's some other names that you might want to reach out to. And I can do that because I have this thing. I was it is hilarious to me. I would not be at all surprised, because this has happened a bunch of times, if she wrote back this afternoon and said, oh, you know what? I actually, is there any way we can get in? I find that the not needing the work is the best marketing out there.
Right.
And so, I have, in fact, that woman reached out. Like, if you go to my photography website right now, I have a pop-up on the contact page that says I'm not taking new clients. So, and this was a new client. Anyway, I digress. It is, even if you're not in a position where you don't need the work, giving people not the false impression, but any bit of like, I have, specific parameters around who I take as clients. It is a weird psychological twist. And I don't like to exploit, I feel like there is sales psychology. We should make use of it.
Right.
But we have to do that in a way that's like honest and gives
full of integrity.
Integrity. Absolutely. I'm a big believer in that. And when you create like a membership of some sort, that is an automatic way to build that in. And it's true. It's not, you're not trying to, sort of pull one over on somebody.
Yeah, man, this is so good. I'm just thinking through even like how you've niched down, weddings and families and, the occasional corporate gig. Probably you were like, I mean, this sounds like a good opportunity. But now that you've got this thing, there's another sense of freedom that comes in knowing what is your main deliverable. Like, what are you doing on an ongoing basis? Like, in the world of video, like when we went from doing weddings, like that, it was so easy. That finding that work, knowing what to sell, it was like, there's only so many things that we could do. We were always trying to come up with like new things, like, hey, let's do, I don't know if you remember, Trash the Dress was a thing like so long ago. And it's like, can we do a Trash the Dress session? And what does that look like? And how much does that cost? But for the most part, it's like ceremony, reception, pre-ceremony stuff, maybe some interviews. Okay, like how many hours and days and blah, blah, blah. But then when we started, in corporate storytelling, it was like, okay, well, we could do a brand video. And that's kind of how we led. And then we got hired by a PR firm to work with their clients. And it was like, well, these guys need a motion graphics video. And then these guys need some event coverage. And then these guys need some talking heads. And then these guys just need a voice. And it was like, wow, we went from offering, a couple of things in the wedding world to like, we're taking on so many different kinds of projects, and every project, our go-to is like, okay, we'll figure that out. And it's, as an entrepreneur, it's exciting, it's fun, it's like, but what we don't realize is that the profitability of every project, when you're learning how to do it for the first time, or you haven't done it in a long time, there's no process, there's no systems around it. It's just like, okay, how do we do this again? And then if you have a team, and if you have new people on your team, it's like, training them for the first time or re-talking about it, from the first time 6 months ago. There's so many things that just drain time, and at the end of the day, our time is money. And if we don't have a go-to product that we're selling, every time our profitability goes down. And it's really hard to build a business, a sustainable business, when we're doing all of these different kinds of things. So my encouragement to the people that listen to this show and are like, how do I grow a video business? And it's not like, how do I just, make $1 million in a year? It's really like, how can I become more efficient? And Annemie, I think what the biggest takeaway that I'm from our chat is like, if you can really dial in just one thing that you do for a business, and that becomes your like go-to market strategy. So sure, you can do all the other things, but if you could just say like, here's the one thing that we know all of our clients need, or like our best clients need, and then you can come up with, whether it's maybe 3 different packages in that thing, life will become so much better, right?
Yeah. So my brother, to like expand this out to even like a whole different industry, my brother is a fine furniture maker, and he does all commission work, and he'll spend months working on a dresser or a table or whatever the case may be. And his stuff is amazing, and it's won awards, and it's all this. I always joke that like the two of us both pursued these creative businesses, but like he's the real artist and I'm the real business person. So I'm always sort of nudging him to have some sort of signature product that he knows exactly what the material cost is going to be. He knows exactly how much time it's going to take him, and it's going to take him less time because there's no design time. There's no like fiddling around with the physics of the piece, or like figuring out like, oh, you know what, I'm going to redo this part, which is what he's doing often when he's creating these brand new custom pieces. So I'm always like, you need to come up with that and get that out there so that people can order that and you can sort of batch make those and send them out. He hasn't taken me up on that yet, but I would say the same. But the message is the same to anyone in the creative arts. If there is a thing that you know you can deliver, you can be extremely what's the word I'm looking for? Consistent, consistent, but it's kind of a signature piece for you. Your membership can be something that you try to drive most of your clients to, or it can be something that it's just like, I'm going to create this thing that people want and need on a recurring basis. And I'm going to make it easy for them to just sign up for that. And honestly, especially when it would be a little trickier, certainly for wedding clients. But anyone who is working with corporate clients, small business owners, there is such an ongoing need for content, updated content, video content, certainly photography content. And so being able to provide that to business owners who have a budget for this content creation and make it easy for them. That's like the key to success in business, I feel like, is making what you're offering easy for someone to say yes to. And that's what, for a multitude of reasons, that kind of like, I'm going to come do this for you on a regular basis. I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to make the budgeting part of it easy and automated. It's kind of a win all the way around. So even if it's just a small part of your business, even if you're using it primarily as like a marketing tool, whatever, I feel like there's like, you are creative people. You put your creative thinking hat on and come up with an offer.
Annemie, so good. I'm so annoyed. I've got like all these like follow-up questions. We're going to have to do this again another time because this was really good. I'm excited. We keep talking around this idea. We talk about retainers and predictable income. And so I hope it's got my wheel spinning in some other areas. Thank you for all of this. How can people find your show, find your website, see what you're doing, be inspired by all the good stuff?
Sure. Well, if you or anybody else has follow-up questions, my podcast is called This Can't Be That Hard. All my other pieces of the business, you can find me on Instagram at This Can't Be That Hard, thiscan'tbethathard.com, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, shoot us a DM if you've got questions, and I'd be happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you being here with me this morning and bringing the good stuff.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. If you like it, please share it with a friend. If you have any feedback for me, you can leave it in the comments section. You can DM me. You can email me, ryan@studiosherpas.com. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't checked out the Onward Summit yet, be sure to go to studiosherpas.com/onward and sign up for the waitlist if doors aren't open yet. And if they are, then save your seat. All right, filmmaker friend. Until next time, talk to you later. Onward and upward. See ya.